Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Bible in 1 Year with the Preacher's Husband. Today we are going through Joshua chapter 22 through 24, and this will conclude the book of Joshua, and it concludes Joshua's life. We start out in chapter 22, and this is where the eastern tribes are allowed to return home. Joshua summoned the Reubenites, the Gadites, and half the tribe of Manasseh. And basically, Joshua said, you've done what you told me you do. You haven't wavered a bit. You've stuck with us through this. Now you can go home back to your land that Moses and God gave you. So Joshua blessed them and sent them on their way, and they went to their homes. Now, Joshua dismissed the Transjordanian tribes with one condition. That condition is that they fully obey God's revealed instructions to serve God with all your heart and all your soul. And this repeats Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 5. Now, on the way home, though, they kind of made a pit stop. And during that pit stop, they decided they were going to build themselves an altar. We get to verse 10 here in chapter 22, and it says, when they came to the region of the Jordan in the land of Canaan, the Reubenites, Gadites, and half the tribe of Manasseh built a large, impressive altar there by the Jordan. And then verse 12 says, when the Israelites heard this, the entire Israelite community assembled at Shiloh to go to war against them. Boom! Israel's already fighting against Israel. Already. They just now got the land. Now they're already fighting again. But here's what happened. They decided, they said, here, you need to calm down and listen to me a second here. The Reubenites, the Gadites, and half the tribes of Manasseh said, listen here, here's what's going on, all right? The Israelites are like, what treachery is this you have committed today? You're building an altar for yourselves so that you are in rebellion against the Lord today. They did build an altar there, but he said, hold on, wait a minute, calm down. Let's talk this over. So they talk it over, and the Reubenites and the Gadites and half the tribe of Manasseh answered Israel and explained to them, this altar is for ourselves, but not for burnt offerings and sacrifices. Instead, it's to be a witness between us and you, and between the generations after us, so that we may carry out the worship of the Lord in His presence with our burnt offerings, sacrifices, and fellowship offerings. Then in verse 28 here, it says, we thought that if they said this to us or to our generations in the future, we would reply, look at the replica of the Lord's altar that our fathers made, not for burnt offering or sacrifice, but as a witness between us and you. And the rest of the Israelites were like, all right, I guess that seems legit, so we're going to forgive you. So the little explanation here from verses 21 to 28, it says the 2.5 tribes explained that they had built the altar as a way to maintain the unity of all the tribes in future generations. Repeatedly, the Transjordanian tribes denied any intent to use the altar as a place of sacrifice. The altar bore witness that those on both sides of it worshipped the same God at the same tabernacle. So the conflict was resolved. And that leads us to chapter 23, which is Joshua's farewell address. Now, right off the bat, Joshua, it says here, the narration goes along, Joshua was old, advanced in age, so Joshua summoned all of Israel. And then the first thing that Joshua says to Israel is, Israel, I am old and I am advanced in age. Clearly, he is old and advanced in age. So, we get up to verse 6, it says he's basically encouraging them, be strong and continue obeying all that is written in the book of the law of Moses, so that you do not turn from it to the right or to the left. Now, the phrase turn to the right or to the left is also found many, many times in the Bible, and I'll give you a quick little list. It's in Joshua chapter 1, verse 7, Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 27, Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 32, chapter 17, verse 11, and and verse 20, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 14, 2 Kings 22, verse 2, and Proverbs 4, verse 27. There's a lot of times for this phrase to be said, that you do not turn from it to the right or to the left. And this is the philosophy that I take on life, and this is one of the reasons why I don't engage too much in political jargon, because I'm not an extreme right winger, I'm not an extreme left winger. I try not to take the extreme religiously on either side. I try not to take any kind of extreme left or extreme right viewpoint of anything in the world. I try to go by what the Bible says, and it's exactly what Joshua is saying here. Do not go to the right or to the left. Just stay right here. Just stay right here in the book. The good book's going to lead your way. So we move on to verse 11 here. It says, so diligently watch yourselves, love the Lord your God. Now this warning to love the Lord your God is based on Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4, and it is at the heart of Joshua's entire message here. We move on to chapter 24. We get a review of Israel's history, and then of course there's a covenant renewal. And then it leads us to this very famous verse in the Bible that many people have heard. As for me and my family, we will worship the Lord. I love that verse. That means everything. Absolutely everything to me and my family. Now then, the end of chapter 24, from verses 29 through 33, this is where 3 of the leaders of Israel are buried. Verse 29, after these things, the Lord's servant Joshua, son of Nun, died at the age of 110. They buried him in his allotted territory at Timnath-Serah in the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gaash. Verse 32, Joseph's bones were buried at Shechem in the parcel of land that Jacob had purchased from the sons of Hamor. Remember, he had died before, but they brought up his bones from Egypt. Yes. And then verse 33, and Eleazar, son of Aaron, who was the high priest, he died, and they buried him at Gibeah, which had been given to his son Phinehas in the hill country of Ephraim. Now, tomorrow we're going to start out in Judges chapter 1 and 2, and the saga continues. So, I hope to see you again tomorrow for another episode of the Bible in 1 Year with the Preacher's Husband. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, and of course click the little jingle bell so you can get notified the next time I upload a video, which is going to be tomorrow, again for Judges 1 and 2. Something I didn't talk about? Pop it in the comments. We'll talk about it there.